Hello, everyone. I want to talk about a case last week down in Fort Worth, Texas, uh, with regards to our right to carry firearms in the post office that we won. Okay. And the short of it is if you are a member of either the Firearms Policy Coalition or the Second Amendment Foundation, uh, there's now an injunction in place where you can carry firearms in the post office and they cannot prosecute you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the details of that. We're going to talk about where it applies. Basically, it does apply here in Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you, I did check that with my lawyer. Okay, we're also going to talk about that. So we're going to go into a whole bunch of details. I think this is a really important case because this is the first time since I became a Pennsylvania resident some 15 years ago where my gun rights have actually been expanded, right? Where I can actually do something today that I couldn't do a year or two ago. Okay, I mean the only other case that comes close is let's say the bump stock case or the pistol brace ban. But here's the thing, and that was a case where I had the ability to do something. They tried to prevent me from doing that thing, right? And then we won in court, so I could go back to doing that thing, right? So that was a case where they were trying to take away a right or the ability, my ability to do something, and we stopped them from doing that. So this is a case where I never had the ability to do that, right? Legally carry a firearm in the post office, and now I have that. So for me, that's a big victory. It's like the first time I actually got some. I've got more than I started off with 15 years ago when I moved into Pennsylvania. Okay, so this case, right, was filed back in 2024. Biden was the potato in chief at that time, right? So he's president, and Merrick Garland is his attorney general. So the case was originally filed as Firearms Policy Coalition versus Garland. Okay, Biden's term expires. Trump becomes president. Pam Bondi is then appointed nominated and confirmed as the attorney general. So the case gets renamed. Okay, that's how it goes. She inherits the case. It gets renamed Firearms Policy Coalition versus Bondi. Okay, and then what happened is the Second Amendment Foundation joined in on the case. Okay, so that's how this now also applies to their members. Now, is there likely to be a national injunction that applies to everybody? No, absolutely not, because the Trump administration, Justice Department, have been going through lots of efforts, right, to try and get the point across that national injunctions. Remember, everybody's trying to. All these liberal courts are trying to get national injunctions on Trump to get him to stop him from doing the things that he wants to do. The Justice Department has been fighting these national injunctions, so they can't turn around and say, "Hey, now in this one case, we like national injunctions." Okay, so that's not going to happen. Okay, now an injunction is where the courts prevent the Justice Department from prosecuting, right? But the Justice Department could come out and say that, hey, we have no intention of prosecuting this case on anybody, right? So that they do have that ability, and we'll talk about that. So far, I have not heard that they've done that. So the judge on this case was Judge O'Connor, a Bush appointee. Again, it matters who the president is because one of the most important things that they do is nominate judges to these federal courts. So it really helps us that we've had a whole bunch of Republican presidents. Yeah, it doesn't matter that they're not 100% pro-gun rights, right? Because again, my position is if you're safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun. We're never going to get any Republicans, right? That there's maybe one or two Republicans that might be that extreme, right? All in, absolute, no excuse gun rights. But they're just, there might be two or three of them. So we got to be realistic in what we can get and what we can't get, okay? So yeah, the Republicans are definitely, the judges that Republicans appoint definitely seem to be working in our favor in advancing our gun rights. Okay, this case basically it bans the it basically puts an injunction on the ban on carrying guns in a post office. They've declared it unconstitutional based on the text, history, and tradition. Okay, so that's important because now that came out of the Bruin decision, right? So now basically you got victories that are stacking on top of victories. So that victory brought us this victory. Okay, that's how it works with these court cases, especially when you have constitutionalist judges. Because here's the thing: if you've got judges that are appointed by Democrats, they kind of decide what they want, what they want the end result to be, and then they do mental gymnastics to get to that. With the Republican appointed judges, yeah, you got to actually do the work and prove it, right? You got to convince them, but at least you have a chance of getting a favorable result. Okay, so that was the case here. So one of the interesting things that was pointed out during this case was that when the post office was first established, I mean, it was an extremely violent period in our country's history, way more violent than today. Okay, I mean, it wasn't uncommon to be traveling through the country and to find people murdered along the side of the road. Okay, I mean, it was just an extremely a violent time period. In New York City, it was pretty common to see bodies floating in the river. Okay, so in an extremely violent time in our history, the point was made that the answer that the politicians came up with was not to ban guns. Okay, in fact, the example that came up was that the government actually supplied guns to postal employees so they could defend themselves. Okay, so this is significant, and this is something that came up in this. And the place where I'm getting this information from, right, is a channel called the Four Boxes Diner. The host of that channel, Mark Smith, is a constitutional scholar. Specifically, he's a Second Amendment subject expert. Most importantly, this is a guy that speaks in front of the Federalist Society, and he's somebody that basically judges and lawyers listen to. Okay, so this is a reason why you should be following this guy's channel, because you're going to get you're going to get down to the real information. You're not going to be hearing stuff hearsay. What I'm telling you guys right now is, hey, this is what I heard from somewhere else. I am kind of getting, boiling it down and getting right to the point, kind of. But you should go back and listen to the original source. In fact, and this is important, the Justice Department follows his channel, okay? Because from what I saw, I saw a posting where the one of the people inside of the Justice Department at a high level retweeted what this guy said. So yeah, Four Boxes Diner, that's the channel name, Mark Smith. Absolutely, you gotta be following that guy if you're interested in this stuff, okay? Because that's where I go to get that legal stuff, right? Because I'm not a lawyer, so I go to a lawyer that's an expert on this stuff, okay? Okay, so the text, history, and tradition, that's what led to this victory. And basically, they went back and they said, hey, during this ultra-violent period in American history, politicians did not ban guns. They didn't prohibit carrying guns in post offices. In fact, they gave guns to postal employees so that they could protect themselves. So the answer was more guns. Okay, so this is good. That's something that works in our favor. And again, it's part of our text history. That's part of our tradition, right? The text part being the Second Amendment itself. The history and tradition is, what I just said about the government handing out guns to postal employees. Okay. So let's talk about what this means for you. So if you're a member of either Firearms Policy Coalition or Second Amendment Foundation, this applies to you. Okay, now there's nothing in this that says how long you have needed to be a member. As far as I can tell, you could go to their website right now and join with FPC. And this is something because I remember because I renewed my membership a couple of months ago. There's a $3 a month option. When you go to their website, you can there's one option to donate, okay, where you can donate an amount. I don't think that makes you a member. There's another option somewhere else where there's a join button. You click on that, and then you have the option of deciding like how, okay, you want to join, how much you want to contribute per month. And I think $3 a month is the minimal. By all means do that. If you can afford more, do more. So it's $3 a month, comes out of your credit card, and that, and now this applies to you because you're a member of FPC who brought this lawsuit. Same thing would happen if you're a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. I don't know why the NRA didn't join in on this. Maybe they didn't want them. I don't know. But for now, it doesn't apply to NRA members. Okay, so you got to join this. Again, only $3 a month. $3 a month, you can't go wrong. Okay, so this is a nationwide injunction for the members that applies in all states. So it applies here in Pennsylvania. Okay, now the state can have additional bans on it, right? So in New York, New Jersey, I mean, they probably have other laws on top of this. So this is an injunction on the federal enforcement of that law. So here in Pennsylvania, there's no state law that prohibits carrying the guns in a post office. So there's nothing that they can do, right? So what I did here is I actually contacted my lawyer, right? Because I'm not a lawyer. My lawyer is U.S. Lawshield, okay? And it's nice because I don't know exactly what it's now, but back when I signed up, it was only $10 a month, $11 a month, okay? And I do have a promo code that they gave me to give to my customers. Pocono shooting, you gotta join through the website over here. So the promo code gets you either a free month or 2 months, depending on your state, or maybe they reduce it by $30. I don't know what they're doing right now. I don't work for them. I don't get a kickback or anything. I basically hosted a couple of seminars for them, and they gave me a promo code to give to my customers. Okay, this Pocono shooting over here. Okay, so that's my interest in this. The reason why I asked them for the promo code is because a lot of times my customers will ask me legal questions, and I don't, sometimes I don't know the answer, or a lot of times they're from a different state. So I wanted to have the ability to say, listen, here's a cheap lawyer, go ask them the question, okay? Instead of asking me. For $11 a month, it's a lot cheaper than me looking up the information and then charging them for it, right? Because my time is money. So it's a lot cheaper for them to pay that $11 a month or whatever it is and get the answer themselves and get it in writing. Because here's the thing. Just because I give you the answer, you can't go into a courtroom, right, and say, hey, this guy on YouTube said so-and-so. What I did is I sent an email to these guys, and they gave me the answer in writing, okay? So if, let's say now I'm carrying a firearm in the post office and I get into some type of trouble with regards to this, okay, I have the ability to print out this email that they sent me, give it to my lawyer, right? Or give it to these guys, because these guys would be representing me, and say, here, this is what you told me, okay? Now go defend me, okay? So that's the great thing about this. So yeah, definitely, it's, for $11 or $20 a month, whatever, it's definitely worth having these prepaid legal services, if for nothing else to ask them questions with these type of cases that keep coming up now, right? And they're going to keep coming up because of the Bruin decision and other court decisions that have been stacking one on top of the other, and that's how it works with these cases. This victory here is specifically because of the Bruin decision, and that victory was because of the Heller and McDonald decision. So one victory brings the next victory, but you do need somebody that understands this stuff to really interpret it for you and tell you, does it actually apply to you? Because in this case, you have to actually be a member of one of these organizations, which is really easy and cheap to do. You can go do it right after you watch this video. Okay, so you gotta have somebody that explains this stuff to you, or it might be a case where it only applies to that one person, right? If it was a single person that was doing the lawsuit. So that's why you gotta have a legal expert that's a specialist in gun rights and gun laws to explain these things to you. Okay? So with regards to this case, okay, if you're a member of FPC or SAF, there's an injunction in place, so the Justice Department cannot prosecute you. Okay. But two things to be aware of that my lawyer told me, right? U.S. Lawshield, is the Justice Department could appeal this case, okay? And they could get a stay on this decision, which means that basically the injunction, if they get a stay, the injunction would be put on hold and it would no longer be in effect. So again, that's why you need somebody to kind of keep you up to date on these things, and that's why I got these guys over here. Okay, so that's the thing that they told me. Yes, they told me yes, I can carry a firearm in the post office. It could be appealed. There could be a stay on that appeal. Okay, so this is something that I would have to just kind of stay on top of. Okay, now it is also possible that let's say I'm carrying in the post office. Not that I want to be the guinea pig, right? So, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I would let this thing kind of simmer for a while before you start carrying firearms, before you start open carrying in the post office. I wouldn't tell you guys to do something that I wouldn't do. And you know what? I got a family, I got kids, I got business to run. You know what? I don't want to be the test case here, okay? So, I'm not going to open carry. But what could happen is that, let's say you were open carrying in the post office. It is possible that the employees there have not heard of this case, right? And that they might call the cops up, and the cops show up and they arrest you because they haven't heard of this case either. So now what's going to happen is now you basically, now you're stuck having to get a lawyer if you don't have these guys here or somebody like them. You're stuck having to get a lawyer, going to court, taking time off from work, going to court probably on multiple days, and getting a lawyer to explain to the judge, right? Because you can't just go in and say this, because believe me, judges don't want to hear this from you, right? I mean, you might think that, hey, if they're hearing it from you, it sounds like more sincere. No, that's a waste of their time. That's how judges see this. They want it in writing, in a specific way that is most efficient for them to get this information out. Okay, so you're not doing them a favor by going to court. You're not doing yourself a favor by going to court and thinking that you're gonna just say everything I just told you. That's not what judges want to hear. Okay, first of all, judges are part of the legal business. Okay, so they want, they like seeing people hire lawyers and pay them lots of money. Okay, because that's part of their business, right? That's why they drag these cases on for years, because this feeds their businesses basically. So that's the issue here. You could, if you decide to open carry, it is possible that some cop may see you, or they might call the cops on you because they're not aware of this case, and now you've got to go to court and prove that there's an injunction in place that covers you. Okay. The other thing is with this is that it also, like, you don't know who your local federal prosecutor is, right? I'm pretty sure that the prosecutors in Pennsylvania are most likely going to be leaning anti-gun. Okay, so I would definitely be swimming upriver on that. I might win it, but it's going to turn my life upside down. So I'd rather not take a chance. Okay. So again, this is just a practical, realistic way to think of these things. So you might get a prosecutor because remember, you also got conflicts within the Justice Department, right? Think of how many, like in New York, Pam Bondi fired the Attorney General, right? But there's conflict within the Justice Department. So your local Justice Department prosecutor they might drag this out and give you hell, and make it really expensive and time consuming for you to prove that this injunction applies to you. Now, one of the things that came out of this case is when the judgment was issued, the judge said that that a list of members needed to be provided, and I don't know if it was to the court or to the Justice Department. And initially, people were making a really big deal. People were screaming up in arms. Why is Pam Bondi asking for a list of the members? And it turned out to be incorrect. Pam Bondi did not ask for a list. Okay, her department did not ask for the list. The judge did this on his own, most likely by mistake, or one of his clerks that typed this thing up did it by mistake, or maybe not by mistake. But what Pam Bondi did is she sent in a request to the court, right, to drop that, to amend this decision so that the list of members is not required. Okay, so again, now this is kind of works for you and against you. Again, good because we don't want the government knowing this information, but at the same time, a local prosecutor who might be a Biden appointee, right, or an Obama appointee, he might take the position of, I don't have a list. I don't know who this injunction applies to, it doesn't apply to. So I'm going to prosecute, and then you prove that, this injunction applies to you. Okay, so let me talk about Pam Bondi for a second. I am planning to do a second video on this. And again, Mark Smith at 4 Boxes Steiner also spoke on this issue. I'm going to say that specifically now, from everything I heard on this case and the way Pam Bondi responded to, no, we don't want the list. I'm satisfied that Pam Bondi is like 100% on our side. Okay, I know in the past there were some issues with her supporting red flag laws. I mean, that's kind of the case with a lot of Republicans, because they tend to be more law and order. I mean, a lot of Republicans are not necessarily pro Second Amendment. They're anti-criminal. Okay, so again, they're not going to take the position that I have. If you're safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun. They're not going to do that. Don't expect it. That's just trying to get too much at them, and you're not going to get it, and it's just not going to benefit you, or it's not going to benefit me expecting that much for them. Okay, I'm happy getting a lot of small victories that add up to more gun rights. Okay, so with the way Pam Bondi handled this, I'm satisfied that she is 100% on our side, or 100%. In terms of she's not looking to take away gun rights, and wherever possible, she's looking to help us keep and take back some of our gun rights. Okay, and I do think that what happened was over between 2020 and 2024, that Trump was out of office, right? In those 4 years, there was a lot of planning and strategizing. I mean, Trump knew he was going to run for election, and he at some point he had decided that Pam Bondi was going to be his attorney general. I know initially, I think initially it was Matt Gaetz, but I think that she was either he put her out. Either Trump put him out there as a feeler, or he already knew that, hey, if Matt Gaetz wasn't going to get in, Pam Bondi was his second choice. So I don't know whether Pam Bondi was really his second choice or really his first choice, and Matt Gaetz was just put out there as a test. I don't know, but the point is that Trump, Bondi, all these people had lots of time to think about these things. Trump had time to think about the bump stock ban that he had supported. he's had time to think about red flag laws and all these things, and he's had time to like really understand the gun community, right? So I think that Trump's second term and all of his people working for him in the second term have had a long time, 4 years, to think about like exactly what the Second Amendment means and where they want to be on it, rather than like in the first term where Trump and a lot of his people were just kind of like reacting to things that were happening. Okay. So yeah, I think that Pam Bondi at this point, especially with this case, has proven that it's been proven. I think that she's proven that she's on our side. We want her on our side, and a lot of people have said that we should get rid of her and replace her with somebody else. I mean, there's no guarantee that you're going to get somebody that's more pro gun rights. Okay, because remember, the Senate Republicans, a lot of them are like not super gun rights. Okay, they're so yeah, there's no guarantee that you're going to get somebody that's more gun rights. And Pam Bondi has actually been very effective. She's given Trump, I think, like 25 consecutive victories in Supreme Court. So it doesn't make sense to get rid of like your best racehorse. She's winning. Let her keep winning. Okay. So anyway, something for you guys to think about. But yeah, that's the update I wanted to give you guys on this post office gun carrying case out of Texas. If you're a member of FPC or Second Amendment Foundation, the injunction applies to you anywhere in the United States. However, there might be other state laws that like if you're in New York and New Jersey, that are separate. Now here in Pennsylvania, okay, there are no state restrictions. So the only thing that was stopping people in Pennsylvania or FPC members and SAF members from carrying guns in a Pennsylvania post office was the federal ban, which is where there is now an injunction on it. Okay, so drop some comments. And again, I don't make any money on this. I definitely recommend you guys have a prepaid legal service where you can ask questions and get the answers in writing. There's the website, uslawshield.com, and the promo code I got for you guys is Pocono Shooting. Okay, that will get you some discount. I mean, I don't know what the discount is at the moment. Every couple of months they change it, but it'll either be 1 month, 2 months free, or maybe like $30 or $40 off. I don't know. So anyway, drop some comments. It helps push the algorithm. It helps spread the information. All right. So the comments, the likes, sharing the video, all that stuff helps the information get out there, and it helps grow the gun community. Okay. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all soon.